Welcome everyone. My name is Eric Smith and I'll be the moderator for today's discussion. I'm one member of the Community and Economic Development or CED unit at Central State University Extension. Others on the team are Ambrose Moses III, as well as Amber J. Twitty. I'll pop up a slide here in a second with our contact information so you have that. In fact, I'll go ahead and share my screen now. And while that's coming up, I just want to share briefly that we're all educators within the Cooperative Extension Service, which is a Central State University CESTA land grant program. This is, today you're joining us, this is our weekly office hour live show where we discuss all things CED. According to the National Association of Community Development Extension Professionals, CED educators support activities that encourage broad participation and result in social, environmental, and/or economic improvement as defined by the community. Specifically, our team focuses on supporting small business development, catalyzing personal and professional development, building resilient communities, and what is the focus of today, in June, the month of June, assisting small-scale farmers with access and awareness of available resources. So each Thursday in the month of June, we've been visiting with different USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture agencies, beginning with Farm Service Agency, and then last week, Natural Resources Conservation Service. The goal of this series is to help you sustain and grow your small farm by connecting you with loan, grant, and cost share programs and opportunities and resources. This week, we are joined by Jennifer Brown of Rural Development to help us understand what programs are available to small-scale farmers through that particular agency. And make sure you've got our contact information just in case that's helpful to you. And then
I'm putting it in.
Great, thank you. And then let me also say a little bit about Jennifer Brown to introduce her as we get ready for her to join us and talk about rural development. Jennifer Brown is the business program specialist with USDA Rural Development in Ohio, and she has over 21 years of experience assisting rural communities and businesses. She's based out of the Hillsborough office and has also served as a communities program specialist and a loan technician. Specialties include the Business Loan Guarantees, Rural Energy for America Program, Value Added Producer Grant, and Rural Business Development Grant. We'll hear about a couple of those here today. She's a member of the Beginning Farmer and Rancher Team, which is an interagency collaboration between FSA, NRCS, RMA, and Rural Development. So you can imagine with all that experience and the various ways that she's been involved in communities and with businesses and farms, we are very, very fortunate to have Jennifer here with us today. I am going to now turn things over to Jennifer, and feel free to take us through what we need to know about rural development and your programs.
Great, thank you. Share my screen here. All right. So thank you, Eric. Yeah, my name is Jennifer Brown. I'm a business program specialist. I kind of focus my attention on Southwest Ohio, but in a lot of the programs, we cover all the territory and all the counties across the state. With USDA Rural Development, we cover a variety. I look at us as a support system for rural America, for rural communities. We cover anything from single-family housing, multifamily housing, community facilities such as your fire stations, hospitals, libraries that support, and then water and environmental programs. So there's a lot of of your rural water systems and stuff that we've came in and helped supported or funded. I work in the business programs division of rural development, where Eric kind of covered. We do BNI, or business and industry loan guarantee programs. We do the Rural Energy for America program, value added producer grant, probably a handful of more. But I'm going to just focus my attention on two that actually benefit the ag community. So these are for ag producers, and then there's some special points and stuff for beginning farmers. So today we're just going to cover those two programs. The first one we're going to cover is the Rural Energy for America program. This program was offered to us back in 2014 through the Energy or the Agriculture Act to help fund energy audits, provide that development assistance, and to make those improvements or installations on our operations. Each year, this is a nationally funded allocation that gets quite a bit of attention across the country. There was a total of $57 million given to the department to use, and then Ohio gets a separate allocation of $1.3 million. So what is this program? It's intended for agriculture producers and rural small businesses. And we can provide assistance through either loan guarantees or a grant. Two ways applying for this program is depending on your needs. If you're looking for something that you're wanting to reduce the cost of your existing system, say you have an old grain dryer, it's just not producing like it used to, and it's costing a lot of money with propane or gases and stuff to operate, we might be able to provide that grant or loan guarantee to replace that system. The other one would be the renewable energy system. That one is, if you have a chicken barn or an operation that you're looking to help offset the cost, we can come in with, solar, anaerobic digesters, windmills, just a variety of things that help produce that energy. And so the eligibility criteria. So the only people that can apply for it are the ag producers or the rural small businesses. When it comes to the ag producer, they can be located anywhere in Ohio. So if you're, a fruit and vegetable grower or something, but you're in downtown Dayton, that's not a normal eligible area for us, but because you're an agriculture producer, you can apply for this program. When it comes to the rural small business, that does have to be located in an eligible area. So we just kind of look at how you're structured when you file your taxes and stuff. This technology has to be commercially available. So unfortunately, we all have these great ideas that we put down on, pen and paper and want to do, but they have to be commercially available. We have to see a warranty, and there has to be, merit to these. So, we want to know that in the end, when the money is spent, you've got a great system that's helped saving you money. So I kind of mentioned we have two different ways of applying for these funds, or we can do a combination of the both. So the first one is a grant opportunity. The maximum for a renewable energy system is up to $500,000, and the energy efficiency is $250,000. There are minimums on each of them. This is a taxable grant, so you would receive a 1099 if awarded. With the grant, it's only 25% of the total project cost. So your total project cost is $100,000. The maximum we could do with the grant is up to $25,000, and those have to be eligible costs. The guaranteed loan program is one that's readily available year-round. There's a maximum loan amount of $25 million. But what we can do, what these guarantees do, is you actually work through local or participating bank. You're actually their customer. You'll go and get your loan and stuff, and then the bank becomes our customer. So then they're going to turn around and apply for a loan guarantee from us. And we can guarantee that loan up to an 85% depending on the amount of the loan. So should something happen, unfortunately we've run into times, but we can provide that that lender a little bit of protection. So sometimes we see that, these renewable systems are just kind of not normal to their everyday lending, so they may not be as comfortable with it. So we hope that this loan guarantee can kind of come in and give them that reassurance in lending that out to you. We do have a 1% guarantee fee at the time of closing, and then a 0.25% annual renewal fee. And that's charged to the bank, and they work with you on how they will get those fees paid, whether they're the closing or included in the closing fees or, pay out of pocket. So again, we can do a combination of the both. That does take a little bit more planning because our grants we look at twice a year, and the loan guarantees we look at monthly. So our total involvement in a project cannot exceed 75%. So we can do a 50% loan guarantee. Say we go back to that 100,000 example, 50% of it could be a loan guarantee, 25,000 could be your grant, and then your extra skin in the game would be that other 25,000. So here's just like a few examples of what we can do on each of them. So our renewable energies, we can do biomass, biofuel. One that we do see that works really, really well is your pellet mills, or kind of your wood stoves for greenhouses. That helps heat them up really well, and it's we don't run out of wood. It's readily available, so that's an easy one that the people seem to like. We have done a couple of larger projects, anaerobic digesters in the area, and those seem to work, and they produce a lot of electricity. Geothermal, hydrogen are not ones we normally see. Every few years we'll get an application for those. Solar is becoming more and more prominent in our area. And when I say that, that's not the big solar farms. This is your independent operation looking to put solar on to help offset those costs. So, we might see like the hog barns, where they use a lot of energy to run their fans, run their heating and cooling systems, water and stuff like that. They'll want to come put solar on those barns or, ground mount to help those costs. Wind, we don't really see wind as much as we used to or get interest in it. We ran into some, I don't want to say issues, but some concerns years ago where they cost a lot to like maintain and operate. So it kind of seemed like the solar kind of took over at that point. And then small hydroelectric. So the energy efficiency side of things, this isn't for new construction and it's not for residential use. But we can look at replacement. So kind of, I said earlier, we have that grain dryer, it costs a lot to get it up and running. But if we put that new system in and that replacement, it's going to save you a lot of money in the end. So we look at doing those. So anything pretty much that you can think of that can be a replacement that has like, it could be, we had a grocery store, they had the old baluster lighting system and they came and put in LED. One, they saved a tremendous amount of money on it, but secondly, their customers saw a huge improvement in the grocery store itself, just being able to kind of brighten up things. So we can do heating and cooling and lighting, electric motors. There's a lot of electric motors around the farm. We can look at upgrading those. Some of them are very costly. Ventilation systems, automated controls. The biggest thing that we have to see is that if you have something that you're wanting to replace, you have to have an energy audit to show after you put in that new system, it's going to show that savings. So that's the biggest thing. So it doesn't have to be the only things listed on this list, but it does have to be documented by that energy audit. So with the grant program, there are the 2 deadlines every year. These are released in the Federal Register. That should be coming out here fairly soon, I would say, for 2023 fiscal year. But our next round is due by October 31st. And those are for requests of $20,000 and under grant. And then the March 31st is kind of open to all. So it can be up to, your $250,000 for energy efficiency or $500,000 for renewable. The website's there. There is a lot more information on the website regarding this program. The forms are there. It's just as easy to reach out to me, and my contact will be at the end of the slides, to get those to you, and we can work through that application process together. So I'll take a pause at this moment. That's the Rural Energy for America program. Again, it's a guarantee or grant opportunity. And I'll open it up for any questions we might have at this time, and then we'll open it up again at the end if you want to wait. So.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I have a general question. I know that for the Rural Development Department, you're basically in the rural areas, right? But I know some of those rules have relaxed a little bit because there are places that are really function, are really kind of rural, but they're closer to, a metropolitan center, urban center. Can you go over what those boundaries or those recent changes were over the past year?
Sure. So actually, every program is different with us. With the business programs, most of our populations are 50,000 and under. And then some with the other programs, they're even less. So it just depends on what you're applying for. When it comes to the energy program here, it's 50,000 and under population. There's a great website that we have on our website there that you can go in and actually put in your address, and it'll tell you if it's an eligible area or not. And then, or if you can't get it to come up, you can always zoom in on the map. I find that to be really nice because you can see, once you get around the city of Dayton or Cincinnati or Columbus, it kind of shows you where those boundaries lie. So that website is a great thing. Again, as a reminder, though, if you're an agriculture producer, you can be anywhere across the country pretty much to apply for that program. So it kind of more is focused towards the rural small businesses on the eligible areas for this program. But thank you. That's a great
question. For that clarification, especially with you being based in Southwest Ohio. You have a lot of those areas that directly apply to the area that you service, so that's absolutely. I wanted to bring that up and clarify that. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jennifer, what if somebody were to Google looking for that map, what would they put in?
So you actually can go to that website there, the www.rd.usda.gov. In the search, just put eligibility map, and it should come right up. It'll give you the option for all of our programs. You'll want to select business programs, and then it'll list the Rural Energy for America, and it should come up pretty easy that way.
Okay. I was curious too. I was going to drop in the farmers.gov. Does RD, are those programs in that system as well?
Right. Yeah. All of the USDA programs should be included on that website.
Okay. So folks, if you don't know, if nothing else, go to farmers.gov and that'll help you navigate. You can plug in what it is you're trying to do. You'll find a way to navigate yourself to the appropriate programs. But if one of these two programs listed here today that Jennifer's kindly going over with us does interest you and you think you qualify, again, she's going to give us her contact information. Thank you, Jennifer. And so make sure you reach out. I have a very specific question. So just as a case example, so I've got someone in one of my in my region who what they need is they need some cold storage, and I'm wondering if something under the loan efficiency loan would be helpful in that case.
Sure. So it can't be, it has to be something they already have installed. So if they have an old system and they need it updated, that's where we can utilize this program. It can't be really kind of for like a new construction type thing or a new install. It has to be kind of more of that replacement type thing.
And that's what they need. Their current system is very inadequate and barely working.
Yeah, so if they can provide that energy audit, from a third party showing that after that new new coolers installed that they can save that money, then that's kind of what we're focusing our attention on for the eligibility part.
So what would the energy audit look like? How would you go about getting a third assessment of your energy status?
Sure. So we have a list that's helped us in the past. They're not affiliated with us by any means, but they're just some that have provided energy audits in the past. They'll come in and what they'll do is they'll pull, your old electric bills and stuff like that. Anything that, if it's like, say, a dryer or something else, it'd be propane, gas, anything like that. And they see what it has cost over so many months, say a 12-month period, 24-month period. And then they're going to take that new install, what you're looking at, and figure out what that savings is, and just kind of give us an overview of from a new system versus the old system. So we can provide that list to anybody that's interested in exploring that.
Yeah, that's great. So again, you'd be the first point of contact, and you could say, well, that's probably not going to qualify because you're in this situation or whatever, or you do qualify, and then you give them the list. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Always
wonderful.
willing to talk over any projects. So.
Any other questions about the REAP program, REAP? Hearing none, I say we go forward.
Okay. So the next one we're going to discuss is the Value Added Producer Grant. This grant has been around for numerous years. It's been another favorite of the agency. It was recently renewed in 2018 Farm Bill. This year we had 19.75 million across the country. Last year we had a significant amount because of COVID-19 funds, and all those funds were not used. So 2.7 million of that is COVID relief funds, and then the 17 million is our general funds. This is another one that releases a NOSA or federal notice published every year with any kind of updates, requirement, deadlines, and restrictions. So that is usually released normally at the beginning of the calendar year. So you can sign up for those. So unlike the grant program on the energy side of things, the Value Added Producer Grant is a national competition. So what happens with this is applications are submitted. I'm actually the point of contact for here in Ohio. So I will work with you on working through those applications. And then we score them here in Ohio, and then they go compete nationally for these funds. So there's a couple ways of applying for applications. So you can apply for a planning grant or a working capital grant. Or if you have a smaller project under 50,000, it's a more simplified application where there's not as many forms required to be submitted. So this is a grant. It's a 1-to-1 match. So we cover up to 50% of the total project costs. We do have a match of cash or in kind. So it can be whether it's your product or your time that you put into processing it. It could be third party, someone that's helping you, whether it's marketing or something like that, can be in-kind contributions for your match. The deadline for 2023 has not been released, but for 2022, that was the beginning of May. So we are working through the applications for this fiscal year currently, reviewing them for eligibility, scoring them, and then we'll submit them to the National Office for Competition. These grant periods are up to 36 months. And unfortunately, we can't go past that 36 months. So if you're interested in looking at a value-added producer grant, I kind of encourage you to keep it to maybe a 24-month grant. And then if we have, run into some, issues or something that's kind of slowing us down, we have 12 months to kind of work with that. And we've seen that a lot, especially over the last couple of years with supplies and, stuff that we're not able to get. So just keep that in mind. And I'll go over what the two grants are. So what this is what is it intended to do is to help an agriculture producer that has a product that you add value to market that and expand your business. An agriculture producer is someone that's directly engaged in the production of an agriculture commodity or that has the legal right to harvest an agriculture commodity that's subject to a value-added project. Agriculture producers must be directly engaged either through substantially participating in the labor management field operations themselves. So we want to see you daily engaged with this grant. There are different ways of applying. So you can be an independent producer, which is the majority of our applicants. And that can be a husband and wife. That can be a family operation, you know, brothers or something like that. It can be, that's kind of the ones that we normally see. There's the agriculture producer group. So those are the ones that are more, you know, like your Ohio Farm Bureau might apply for you, or we have on it, or United Producers. We've seen those in the past. Your farmer and rancher co-ops, we have a beef co-op, say here in Southern Ohio, you know, where it's a group of farmers that have developed a co-op to run the venture, and they apply as the co-op as a whole, not as an independent producer. Or a majority controlled producer based business venture. That's more of a group business, the larger structure. So again, probably the most of the ones we see here in Ohio is the independent producer. So applicants must demonstrate that they own or produce more than 50% of the agriculture commodity that will be the product. So if you have you grow, say tomatoes, and you're making salsa, your product is the tomatoes. Yes, there's other things that you put into it, but if your product is mainly the tomatoes, you have to provide and produce more than 50% of them that you're using for your application. So if you say that I'm just saying in general, you know, 1,000 pounds of tomatoes, at least 500 pounds have to come from your operation. This grant, we want to see it focus on increasing your customer base. And by doing that, there's two different ways for applying for these grants. The planning grant is a grant, say, you know, you're not quite up and running. You've had this thought going through your mind for the last few years. You kind of want to like check it out even further, kind of write it down, work through things, you know, to see if this is something you're actually going to put money out for. So we'll help with the planning side of things, help cover business plans and feasibility studies, legal counsel, other guidance, marketing, and that's where this grant can come in handy. So it kind of gives you a better chance of getting your feet, you know, planted firmly before you take that leap. And then now we're ready to, you know, to take that leap. So you want to apply for the working capital side of things. So these funds are provided to help operate the venture by helping assisting with processing and marketing that product. So the things that we kind of see and focus attention on, I look at it as kind of the soft cost things that, you know, we can't do. Unfortunately, we can't do any kind of construction of a, you know, of a building, or we can't help, you know, you are that tomato grower. We can't help pay for the plants, but we can help pay for soft costs. And I kind of look at it as, say, some of them say farm gate forward or harvest forward. So you've harvested that crop and now you're moving it on to the processing side of things. That's where this grant can start, help covering those costs. So we can help with some of the legal documentation. We can help with accounting systems. You need a point of sale system, you know, a computer or an iPad or something like that. We can come in and pay for those. We can pay for salaries of employees. They can't be family or anything like that, but we can help, you know, add on a couple people if you're needing it. Utilities that are needed to help process it, you know, whether it's, you know, your electric bills higher during these months of, you know, processing, water, you know, things like that we can take a look at. And then finance inventories. So you need other supplies to help produce it. You know, we can do that. Kind of the big things that we cannot do, again, is your construction and then some equipment. So it does say office equipment there, and that's fine. Computers, like I said, iPads, stuff like that. We cannot do like a permanently installed, like a cooler. We can't do that. It has to be something that at the end of the grant period, it doesn't hold its value, and it has to be under $5,000. So if you have a, you know, a standalone refrigerator, it's not bolted down. It can be easily moved, something like that. And it's under $5,000. That's something that we can use these grant funds for. A lot of people use it for the marketing in their campaign. They're trying to expand their business. They're trying to get a new customer base. So they kind of create a new campaign, so we can step in and help with those costs. So what can't you use these funds for? We can't purchase land. We can't help repair or construct facilities. No vehicles, equipment, planning for the facility. We can't pay for the commodity. That's what I said earlier. We can't pay for the plants, but we can pay for the processing afterwards. We can't pay for any harvesting of the product. So again, it's that harvest forward or farm gate forward. No R&D, research and development expenses, not directly related to the project. No paying for goods or service by any entity, conflict of interest, and no political activities. A lot of people use Grant Writer to help get these applications completed. The funds can't be used for that. That's the first one there. And grant writers they come in very handy, but this is something that people can fill out the application on their own. I know your time is precious. Personally, my family and my husband and I are farmers, so I know it takes a lot of time away when you're filling out these grant applications. But just keep in mind, one, that's what I'm here for. I will definitely work through the application process with you and take that time needed to get these done. I am really big about if you are able to get it to me ahead of time, I'll review them and kind of score them and make sure, one, that they're complete, that you're going to be eligible, that you have all the required documentation in. And then, is there any items that I could see that you could explain a little bit different? So, if you want to go that grant writer way, that's perfectly fine. Just know that those grant funds cannot be included in that cost. So product eligibility. So any kind of ag producer that's creating a product that you can add value to, it could be livestock, that's your beef, cattle, pork, lamb, chicken, anything along that line that you're turning into that freezer meat or something like that. We can take that, we can help with processing costs, jars, labels, any kind of packaging on the livestock side of things. Fish and poultry, again, the processing side of things. Fruits and vegetables. So we had a orchard up in northern Ohio that applied for the funds last year, and they did, I remember there was peaches, apples. It seems like there was another fruit product that they had, but some of their fruits they're able to sell. They're called fruit. So they'll take this fruit that they normally just dispose of, and they're turning it into fresh ice cream. So they use the grant to help kind of start that new venture and pay for some of the costs to get that up and running. But they were able to use that culled fruit that they previously had disposed of or found a different way to, they couldn't sell it, but they were now able to use that. And it's going to be a great venture for them. Your vegetables, I kind of used that earlier. If you're a produce grower and you're turning that into something else, or you're selling it as a local, you raise sweet corn or something, and you're selling it as a local product, we can definitely take a look at that, say at your farmers markets and stuff. Rye, corn, sunflowers, cut flowers, again, these are local products that you can sell for and increase the income by expanding your customer base. Trees for lumbers, wood products, Christmas trees. Not eligible is anything to do with horses or pets, any kind of household pets or something. There's not much we can do with those. So that was quite a quick overview of the Value Added Producer Grant. Again, that is our website. Both of these programs, it kind of shows the open grant periods and stuff on our website. You just can go in again in that search bar where you could search for the eligibility website, or you can just type in Rural Energy for America Value Added Producer Grant, or do a drop down on the programs and find it under the business programs section. Or better yet, if you want to reach out to me, we can discuss what your venture is, what your product is, or what your thoughts are on energy. I'm happy to do that anytime. I can be readily available by phone. Sometimes it's easier to catch me by email, but I'm happy to discuss anything you got. So I'll open it back up for questions or turn it back over to Eric. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here today.
Let's start with any questions about the value added producer grant. Start there. Then I may have some other questions for you, but one question I have as far as the value added producer grant. So just again, just a maybe as a case study here, just so I've got a farm in my region. They have, it sounds like a similar scenario as a fruit tree, right? So they have product that they weren't able to sell because didn't meet grade or whatever. And so they started a side, cannery operation. And so, but they've actually gotten to the level where they've got other people coming to do their seconds of their products, get them canned there, processed there. And so they have an interest in expanding that operation because they have more demand for other farms wanting to use their facility, than what they have, the ability to meet. So would that be an example of a value added, an opportunity for a value added producer grant?
So you're talking about like building onto the kitchen area for processing, or okay. So that probably would not fall under the value added producer grant, because again, we can't do any kind of construction or major equipment. If it was something that they were using individually for their operation, for an expansion of their customer base, that's kind of where our focus is. That's where our grant funds would go to. If there is a group, they have to be a nonprofit or say a college, higher education facility. They could come in and apply for other programs that we have, such as the Rural Business Development Grant. And there's funds available under that grant for like incubators and kitchens and stuff like that. So that might be something we could discuss, but I think there are options for stuff. It just probably would not fall under the value added producer grant. But great question.
So if I'm a beginning farmer and I want to come and check you out, right, on your programming, what are things that would be helpful to you? One of the things that, before you answer, one of the things that our CED team does is we are working with beginning farmers and urban farmers to do what we call a 4-page business plan. So it's a pretty in-depth concept, with some initial preliminary numbers, where they want to be in the next couple years, those kind of things. So it's not the full drawn out 500 page traditional business plan, but it gives you all the information. Along with that, what are some other things that would be helpful for someone coming to your office for the first time? Because with USDA, there are so many different programs, even with it in each department, right? That would help you to help them or make that anxiety down and just help you to direct them to what programs would be best for them.
Sure. So, every program is different, like you said, and there's different requirements across the board. With these two, probably the best thing you have to do is, one, the business plan is great because it explains to me what your plan is, what you got going on and what your plans are to get there. So the business plan is fantastic. When they submit applications, unfortunately, probably when they come in the first time, they're not going to be able to submit an application that day because there's a lot that go into these grants. But when they submit them, they're going to have to provide some financial information, whether it's tax returns, projections, depending on the size of the grant or the loan that they're requesting, and then just required forms. So we can do it all by email. I can set up Teams meetings. We can do it over the computer. And then that way we can go through document by document and kind of explain which each of it is regardless of the program, for all the requirements.
And do you have a cheat sheet by any chance of things that are required across the board, no matter what program it is? I know that if there's some baseline information that's required
Yes.
of all the grants.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't, because I guess each of our program has different applicants. So if you're the business and industry, more than likely you're an independent business, say, that's going to have, larger requirements, applying for a grant than someone that's applying for, versus a loan. So there's not really a cheat sheet or anything. For each program, we can provide that individually, but unfortunately, we don't have anything general.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I am curious about what you do as a farmer. What's your product, and then have you used USDA programs or rural development programs?
Okay, well, thanks. So my husband and I, we are a first generation farm down here in Southwest Ohio. We do corn and soybeans. We rent the majority of our ground, but we farm about 1,200 acres. And then we do 100% cover crops on our operation. So we do no-till and then a cover crop year round pretty much. And then we have beef cattle. We have about a 45 head cow-calf operation where we raise beef cows and sell the calves off for freezer. And then we just recently expanded our operation into sheep for, we have Katahdins, and so that like your meat sheep for the Katahdins and St. Croix breeds. And then we actually are kind of starting with like a show stock side of things because of our children getting into 4-H and showing. So yeah, it's a great lifestyle. And, I understand these farmers every day, their time is limited, and and when you run into programs that benefit you, it takes a lot to step away from your operation to do it. But we have benefited, not so much from rural development. We've explored some of it, but hasn't came up to the time for us to use it just yet. The one that we're really interested in, we have an old grain dryer on our operation that we use, and it takes a lot to fire it up every year. So we'll probably be venturing into the Rural Energy for America program to look at that eventually. We've utilized a lot of NRCS, which I know is another presenter that you've had on or will have on. Whether it's been the EQIP, we've put in some new waterways, we've done some management plans, helped covered some feeding pads, and then we used the beginning farmer loan with our first major farm purchase a few years ago with the Farm Service Agency. So yeah, they've been really beneficial to us in our personal operation.
And how long, you spoke that you're a first generation farmer. How long have you been farming?
We are in our, let's see, this is actually our 20th year. So we started as soon as we got married and started our operation.
And how much land did you have your first year?
Oh my. So it's kind of an interesting story. My husband worked for a neighbor farm as a farmhand.
Tell us the whole story.
Well, he worked as a farmhand for the neighbor, and after school every day, and kind of became that farmhand. And then another neighbor came to us and asked him if he wanted to start his own operation. So our first year, we planted a 35-acre crop of soybeans, and then just started building up from there. So the one farmer that he worked for supplied all the equipment and stuff for us. And then each year we just kind of started acquiring our own stuff and growing our operation to where it is today. I would say the majority of our ground is rented. It's hard to acquire that farmland, one at the prices that are at, but then the availability of it. So it's taken a long time to get where we're at, and a lot of hard work and dedication. So.
Any
Your
tips for
husband
someone
drugged
starting
you
out?
into being a farmer. I said your
Pardon
husband
me?
took you into being a farmer.
I grew up, my grandparents are farmers, and I grew up on that operation. So it's kind of always something that's interested me. And then I actually started here with the agency at the age of 17 on that agriculture side of things on that. So it kind of paved a great path for us both.
Okay.
And we both have a fondness of the agriculture and the farming community and raising our family there.
Awesome.
And I think you also have some examples of farms that have used some of these couple of grants for a couple of products. You mentioned the one, the
The
fruit
orchard.
tree or
Mhm.
the orchard. Do
Yeah,
you care to share
so
another example or two?
no, absolutely. So I have three here that I kind of wrote down. There is a beekeeper in Eastern Ohio. They raise honeybees, and then they take the propolis from the honey and pull that out, and then they make lotions and face creams and stuff with the grant funds. And then so what they've used the grant funds on is they've turned around and used it for travel purposes. So they attend a lot of the shows and stuff to help promote their product. And these funds will help do that. You know, we can pay for those travel costs to help attend the shows to expand your customer base. They use it for some of the marketing and labels and supplies like that. Of course, I already covered the orchard. And then the other one that's kind of neat, they were a small operation. And, you know, it wasn't a big request, but they wanted to do pumpkin donuts. So they have a pumpkin patch that they open their farm up to every year, and they wanted to provide something else to their customers while they were there. So they applied for grant funds last year to help do that. So we helped pay for some of the processing needs, some of the smaller equipment. You know, we can do scales, we can do, mixers, stuff like that. That's what they needed. And then marketing, signage, stuff like that. So they raise their pumpkins, and then they're turning that product into donuts. So those are three great ones that we've had here recently. There was 1 year ago, I'm thinking it was Ann's Raspberries. She would take it and she would make jam. And actually she got to be in some major magazines and really developed her business in it, you know, because of this grant and opening those funds up to other areas. It allowed her to really expand her market and her reach, because again, she was one like the bees, you know, she got to be in some magazines and stuff, and it just really kind of helped her step up to that next level.
Great. Another area I'd be curious if we could spend a little bit of time on this is because you'd referenced, right? So we focused on the two grants that are really kind of the most geared toward the actual producer. But I kind of wonder if I'm a producer, but you know, we live in these ecosystems and you know, communities, and our market is the community. And so I wonder if you could venture into, you'd already mentioned the Rural Business Development Grant, and there's some other products that a farmer maybe could nudge their community to use, so the community can help them. And so I wonder if maybe there is some value in taking a little bit of time and sharing about rural business development grants, or even some of the microloan kinds of things that communities can do, which would then also come back to assisting our farmers.
Sure. So we have under the Rural Business Development Grant, it's one that as a nonprofit or college or higher education facility can come and apply for those funds. They're grant funds. They can be used for a variety of things. So they can help create, you have an area where you're trying to turn into your business. We can run the lines, electricity, stuff needed to help bring those businesses to that area. You can use it for the incubators, like I mentioned earlier. One other way that they can apply for these funds is to turn it into a revolving loan fund. And what a revolving loan fund is we take them as our intermediary. So they're kind of our customer again. And then they turn around and use those funds in the community as a loan. So say you went to your bank, you don't quite have the cash they need for collateral or you're not quite there yet to use the bank lending system, but you're needing funds to kind of get off the ground, you can go to these revolving loan funds, and then they have the funds available to loan to you. And then some of the times they can kind of get, I want to say, a little bit more creative in some of the things that they can take for collateral to help get you started. It can also be used for gap financing. So you have went to the bank, but you're a little short, here and there, say you need an extra $20,000. Well, then you can go to these revolving loan funds and get that kind of that gap needed to fulfill your needs. There are two other programs. One's the Intermediary Relending Program, referred to as IRP, and then the Rural Micro Entrepreneur Assistance Program, which is the RMAP program. So we have a lot of acronyms. But those are two kind of the next level of the revolving loan funds that they can apply for higher amounts of funding to help relend in the community. We do have the Business and Industry Loan Guarantee Program, and that can be for certain agriculture producers. If you're, like my personal operation, we're kind of the row crop farmers, but if we had a trucking business on the side that helped haul grain or something like that, you can utilize that program to help, refinance, to build that business, start, a startup, add on, more equipment or something like that. They can apply for those kind of funds. I know a lot of our farmers, and speaking personally, my husband's one, like a township trustee. They need that kind of that side, and a lot of them have stepped into that role. The townships and the communities, counties, they need assistance too. So that's where the community facility side of things kind of come into play. And they can help with, if the township needs a new truck or a new storage facility or a new meeting place, your township or your village needs a fire department, fire truck, police cars, libraries, any kind of community need. There is assistance available through us too, whether it's a direct loan, or there are some grant funds available to the areas depending on population, kind of employment, stuff like that. So we kind of cover a lot of community needs in a lot of different ways with rural development. So hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if we could put a kind of a punctuation point on that as well. Like, do you have a story in mind of a community that's used one of the rural business development grants or the revolving loan programs or the facilities program?
So the community facilities comes to mind. Yellow Springs just built a new fire station. We were a part of that funding opportunity to help build that new fire station there on this, I believe it's on the south side of town. There is Wilmington College. That's a fantastic one. So they're building down there, and to do the science and arts building, I believe it is. We helped expand and remodel that college. We've helped, we've put a lot of water lines in, like I know the companies down in our area, so like Brown County, Highland County, Adams County, all has like their own regional water system. Athens County, we've helped put in new lines across the counties for those water systems. When it comes to the revolving loan funds, ECDI in Columbus is kind of a statewide revolving loan fund lender. They do a lot of stuff with food trucks, which food trucks are sometimes some of the harder ones to get some financing on. So they've been able to kind of focus their attention on providing financing to help get food trucks and stuff started. There's some that's down in our area with the revolving loan fund. There's one here in Highland County that they helped a gentleman. He was making hunting blinds and cameras and stuff, and he was starting up a new business. So, he needed that initial financing to get off the ground. So he came to the local revolving loan fund and applied for those funds to help kind of jumpstart his operation.
just want to make sure that Ambrose or James or Miss Diane don't have any questions or comments.
No, I don't have any today. It's been a real informative, though, hearing of the programs as we go forward here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't have any comments or any questions today. Been listening, and it's like way over my head. So, but I enjoyed the conversation. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Well, don't ever hesitate to reach out with questions or something's kind of sparked and you're just kind of wondering if it fits. Don't ever hesitate to reach out to me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, well, okay, I do have a question. So I was, you guys open the door there. So I was at a workshop earlier today, given by one of the organizations in Georgia, and they were talking about heirs property, and they were talking about the need for state planning to help, one, remedy some of the issues with heirs property, but then also to try and prevent land that you have from becoming heirs property down the road. And one of the reasons for looking to do that is also being able to access certain USDA programs, because you have to, get folks to sign off, and if you have 13 different heirs that you have to pull together to sign off on a transaction, that could make things very difficult. So my question is, have you, in your work there with rural development, or even in some of the planning that you and your husband did, building your agricultural operations over the years, have you had to address or seen some of those circumstances dealing with heirs property? And do you have any thoughts to share on that?
So on a professional side of things, I haven't had to deal with that much with rural development. I can't think of an instance at all that where I've had to. On a personal level, we have a close farm family that is working through that now. And the structure is very important on how you structure that next level, that handoff. So we are actually working through a couple things, kind of land as your legacy type things to help develop how our handoff goes, to make sure that that next generation is well covered. That's a hard subject to cover, because you think you've got it just right, and it never seems to play out the way that it played out in your mind. So I wish I had better advice or a better path, but it's pretty individualized for each operation.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And I think that it's probably something to sort of just start building in some education for the agricultural community, just in general, just from the basics on up, in terms of complexity. So thank you for sharing.
Sure. I will add, recently there was a beginning farmer state tax credit that was announced for the state of Ohio. So for beginning farmers, my husband was actually one that brought that to Ohio and took that to the House to get that approved. He's seen that it was really beneficial out west with some of the states, and kind of did some investigating and kind of discussing how it worked and stuff, and then took it to an organization here in Ohio, Farm Bureau, and kind of worked up through the channels with that and went and testified, and they got that approved. So I would encourage you, anybody that's facing that, explore those tax credits.
Okay, sounds great.
And that's separate from my professional life here, but just adding that in.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, Eric, you're on mute. My apologies.
I see our time is almost up. I wish we had a little more time, because some of this, I think the CED team for sure is interested in, is the housing dynamic and how you support that. So we'll be calling on you to come back and offer that side of the house, so to speak.
Yes.
Share with us about that as well. Because
you know how I am about infrastructure.
yes,
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. So the community side and the housing side are going to be interesting topics to delve deeper into. But we're so grateful, Jennifer, for your coming and spending time with us, sharing about those programs. I know they've had an impact. I've worked with people, I've used those programs, and it really does have an impact on growing and sustaining your farm business. Folks, this concludes this edition of Office Hour Live. We appreciate you being with us. A reminder that these are recorded and we'll put them on our YouTube channel, Central State YouTube channel. So if you missed something, you're going to go back and look at it. We'll make sure that those are up and the links are live where you can go and access that. So with that, thank you again, Jennifer, Amber, and Ambrose as well. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.